Okay, well, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we're doing really good with time because we're going to have one little warm-up act before the main band is going to play today for us. So I know we're all really excited to hear from the First Congressional District Candidates. So again, my name is Mark Zuckerberg. I'm the interim chair for the Frankfort Township Democrats, a long-time resident, but going on 27 years here in Frankfort Township. And happy to be involved and happy to be able to offer this forum today. This is just quite a fascinating race. I was reflecting the other day, after 42 years of being a voter, this is probably the most crowded race that I've ever seen, and it was my commitment to the Frankfort Township Democrats that we asked candidates for the First Congressional District to come out, because this is, I think, a groundbreaking election, and I'm really proud to be part of this, and we have to be informed. An informed electorate is an active and healthy electorate. So thank you all for coming today. Just a couple of real quick ground rules to try to get input from all the candidates and from the voters in the audience. We are asking people to write their questions on little slip of paper. There are little slips of paper at the back registration table if you can put your question on there. Then what we'll do is we'll draw the questions from that hat, and then each candidate will have 90 seconds to reply to that question. So we were going to let folks do a stump speech, but if you count the number of folks up here times 5 minutes, we'd be here for over an hour, and they'd probably fallen asleep by the time we got to the last candidate, and you'd be falling asleep. So we're going to try to keep this as lively as possible. I'm going to ask that we keep jeering and cheering and applause to the minimum. I know it's going to be hard, especially when you hear something that really excites you, but we do want to give everybody an opportunity to talk and to be listened to. So we are live streaming this on Facebook, and the video will be available. I'll be happy to share the video with candidates, with their teams, and you can feel free to do what you may with those. So I'll edit that tomorrow and make sure I get that to the candidates and their teams for use in the next few weeks. So just really quickly, the first question that I will be asking tonight is a very broad question, and the candidates have that question, their teams have that question, and it is about how the election and how their position, their representation in Congress will affect us here in Frankfort Township. It's an absolutely huge district, as you all probably know. So with that, what I'd like to do is just recognize a couple of people in the room. We've got a couple of local candidates, and I just want to move through a couple of the local candidates, and then ask we've got two candidates in the room that they are in a primary together, so I will ask both of those candidates to talk for 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to the candidates of First Congressional Candidates. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tim Brophy, Will County Treasurer, a longtime treasurer. Mr. Brophy, for your time today and your support. Andrew Englebrecht. Andrew is running for the 4th District, Will County Board. Love to see young people involved. I'm an old man, 60 years old. Andrew's about a third that age, and so great to have young people involved in politics. And do I have any other besides? I know I see Sonny and Jim here. Any other candidates that? Yes.
David Moore, Secretary of State.
Mr. Moore. Great. Mr. Moore, will you take 30 seconds and say hello? Would you like to say hello for 30 seconds? Yeah, just really quickly. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I just wanted to let everybody know that we did invite all the Secretary of State candidates, and Mr. Moore was the only one that took us up on coming tonight. So let's give him a round of give him 30 seconds.
30 seconds, real briefly. Yeah, definitely. My name is David Moore, currently Alderman in the 17th Ward, serving in my 7th year, my 2nd term. And it's important that the Secretary of State seat, you hear me talk about the service, the business, and the responsibility, but more than anything else, it's important that we have people in there who have ethics and character and integrity. And it's important that this seat does not go back to being a political seat like it once was, but that we keep it a servant seat. I'm the only one in this race who said I would not be using this seat as a stepping stone to go to the next level for senator or governor, but to just stay there and serve. So please go to my website at www.morphillinois.com, because Illinois does not deserve less. Illinois deserves more. David.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Okay,
Do you think that Neil Steinberg said in his column yesterday true about you?
I'm sorry?
Neil Steinberg is sometimes everything that he said in his column yesterday, was it true about you?
All that positive stuff, yes.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So we do have, as you know, there's many uncontested races in Will County and in our township and in the state in general. So one of the contested races, and we do have that list of contested races. This is on the back table here. We know Secretary of State is contested, of course. Central Committeeman, First Congressional District, of course, our First Congressional District, replacing the Honorable Bobby Rush, and the majority, and all the other races are uncontested. We do have for judge for the appellate third court judicial district. I'm sorry, for the appellate court third judicial district, we do have a contested race, and it's James Murphy and Sonny Choi Williams. So, with respect to their race, we do want to give them each 2 minutes to talk a little bit about their platform. And I think in fairness to the ballot and the way the ballot, the lottery on the ballot, Mr. Murphy is first on the ballot, and Ms. Choi Williams is second. So I'm going to ask Mr. Murphy to come up first and give 2 minutes, and then we'll do a hard stop at 2 minutes, and then turn it over to Ms. Choi Williams, and then we'll get to our First Congressional District candidates. Thank you. James?
All right, I am James Murphy, and I'm running for the Illinois Appellate Court in 3rd District. It's actually larger than the Congressional District, and I think it has more voters than the Congressional District. 7 counties, all of Will County, all of DuPage County, and 5 others. I have been practicing immediately out of law school. I started clerking for an appellate court. I've then been in private practice since then, the last 21 years in Will County, practicing in Joliet in all manners, including representing the village of Frankfort. We know now that courts are important. One of the things, and I have it on the back, I have my sort of analysis and criticism of Justice Alito's draft opinion concerning overturning Roe versus Wade. And just very quickly, one of the main problems with it is he wants to fix the law in the 1870s with regards to women's rights. Now we know that women's rights were almost non-existent then. If you were married as your legal entity disappeared under the law. That's what case law said. A Supreme Court justice said basically you didn't have the stamina, willpower, these are not quite the words, to do a lot of jobs, including being a lawyer. We now have Supreme Court justices on the U.S. Court and the Illinois Court. So another thing in terms of, and I'm trying to push this in within 2 minutes, but my website you can look at more is Murphy for Justice. I am the only candidate in the Democratic primary that has been recommended by the Illinois State Bar Association. I've also been recommended in advisory poll by Illinois lawyers and have been rated in terms of integrity, legal ability, and partiality with over 90% in all of those areas. So I hope you'll look into me. I would like to have your vote, but I think it's also important. Pick up on the back page, or back table rather, I do have this letter that really talks about what the decision of Justice Alito means and all of the rights that are in peril based on this decision. So, just as an informative matter, I urge you to take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, and next is the candidate for the appellate court, Sonny Choi Williams.
Thank you, and I don't like to have my back people, so I'm going to walk over here. So my name is Sonny Choi Williams, and I'm running for the 3rd District Appellate Court for the vacancy of Judge Vicki Wright. Just a fact out there, Judge Vicki Wright was not recommended by the Illinois polls, the advisory poll that this year, for the first time, included the old 3rd District and includes a lot of rural conservative areas. So don't let the very few old guards determine your vote to who is going to be elected as the next third appellate court justice. So a little bit about myself. I've been an attorney for 23 years, dedicating most of my career as a public servant. I started out my career as an assistant public defender. I have a broad range of experience in the appellate court before the state and federal appellate court. So I've done complicated appellate work, know the difference of fundamental rights, and I know for a fact that the U.S. Constitution was not written for someone like me. It was written for a white male owning property. So you kind of have to live the life to be able to have that perspective on the bench. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 8 years old with nothing but the clothes on my back. My parents worked back-breaking jobs to put us through school and provide food for us, and taught us that hard work and good education were paramount to getting out of poverty. And they were right, but they also taught us empathy. You need a jurist on the 3rd District Appellate Court with that perspective, but also dedication to the community. I was elected as the first woman lawyer of color to be the 3rd vice president of the Illinois State Bar Association, and it garnered more than 110 judicial ballots that my opponent received. It actually garnered close to 2,600 votes. So don't let a very few group of attorneys determine who should win, who's best qualified. So when the June 28th primary comes around, vote for someone who could advance the 3rd District Appellate Court forward and not wait another 10, 15 years before the opportunity of a meaningful change is done on the appellate court to make the appellate court more reflective of the community that it serves. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Sonny. Okay, ready to get going? Here, ready to get going? Yeah. Okay, so the first question we thought as a leadership team of Frankfort Township Democrats was really important that we started our little round robin here with this question. So what I'm going to ask candidates to do is I'll give the mic. I'll start with Mr. Butler here, and then when you're 90 seconds up, you'll pass to Mr. SWAIN, and then CHARISE Williams, and so forth and so on. Okay, so 90 seconds, and then we'll end with Ms. Palmer down there, and then the next question, which we'll draw out of the beautiful Mike Harris hat, which comes from everybody here in the audience. We'll start with Ms. Palmer and work our way back to Chris Butler. Okay? Questions, candidates? Okay. First question, what is unique about Frankfort Township versus the rest of the First Congressional District? And how are we the same as the rest of the district? What will you do to ensure Frankfort Township will be represented in Congress? Okay?
Thank you all so much just for being here on tonight, for hosting this panel. Over the last 18, 20 months, I've been coming to Frankfort Township and have noticed the unique sense of community and the commitment to one another that's down there. Think about my friend Jeff Otway, who grew up in Frankfort, went away to get his education, became a finance professional, worked out east, but then felt a draw back home to give back to his own community, and now he's doing that work down here in Frankfort. And we have that all over the district. Folks want that in every community. and it's a fight in every community, and I think that's what is the same. And what I'm going to do to make sure we're represented, what I've done these 20 months and I've been campaigning. I'm going to be here, I'm going to listen, I'm going to meet people, and make sure that we represent the entire congressional district.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for being here, John SWAIN, candidate for Congress. I'll start with how things are alike. From my going in and around the Frankfurt and other parts of the district, what I found is that folks want the same thing. Districts may look different, but the people themselves want the same thing. That's why a lot of my friends are now moving to Frankfurt to find the things that they're not finding in other parts of the district. And I think there's a lot of similarity there. If you really want to talk about difference, I think some of the difference is a political difference. Well, in Chicago, we are stuck in a particular area. We're stuck in a particular area that's a kind of echo chamber. We don't have to deal with people on the other side of the aisle. Down here, you guys are on the front lines of really that fight between, the January 5th America and the January 6th America. And so I think that's one of the biggest distinctions. With respect to representation, I intend to, when elected, I intend to office in Will County, in the Frankfurt area, and be represented. And clearly, people say that Frankfurt is a small part of the district. By the mere fact of all of us coming out here on an evening before an election and all of us being represented is indicative of the fact that your voices matter to all of us, and we want to make sure that they're heard. So they will always be represented in the context of the leadership that I try to provide in the First Congressional District. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to stand up because I'm short. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisse Williams, Punch 47. And this past weekend, I was out knocking doors in Frankfurt, and what I realized is something I think that we all realize, is that Frankfurt has a strong economic community. I mean, you all are booming with the increased solar projects that you have now pending and currently happening right now, home of some of the largest economic firms, manufacturing, food processing. I mean, this is what makes you unique right now. What's similar, I think, throughout the whole district is that we have concerns about housing and schools. There's a housing shortage, and I know, both in this district, in this area, that we want to increase our housing. So what I plan to do once I become your congresswoman is make sure that those needs are addressed. Representation matters all the way. Frankfurt is very different than the rest of the areas throughout the district, right? We are not the same as Bronzeville or the Southland area. So understanding those differences, being able to have successful experience in funding those differences. I've been a state employee, I recognize the differences in the state, and so I have the experience to be able to do that. And once I go to Congress, together, when I have my office here, we'll have an open and transparent conversation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me out. I'm short as well, but I think I can still stand. If everybody can hear me, unless you want me to stand. I'm State Senator Jacqueline Collins, and first of all, I just wanted to thank you for an opportunity to come out and to visit with you. What I know that all people want, no matter where you're located, is good jobs, good paying jobs, opportunity for your children to get a quality education, and safe places to live, and basically affordable places. We're all facing inflation now. Certain demands are on our working families. I have a legacy of working and standing up for working families. What your district is very similar to my district that I already represent as a legislator. So I'm not just an urban legislator. I now have urban, suburban, and farm, rural areas now. My district now replicates yours, looks just like yours, and I've had a good relationship with all my mayors and municipalities in reaching them and dealing with the issues that are concerning. Many are water issues, for many of the draining issues, but let me just tell you, this, that one of the things that I want to bring that might be different than the representation you had before is I'm very strong on constituent services. Sometimes the communities outside of Cook County felt that they did not get the attention that they needed. I'm here to say I have a great reputation, and my commitment is that you have always access to me.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Thompson, candidate for the United States Congress here in the 1st District of Illinois, Punch 35. And I would say, as far as what needs Frankfurt has, the rest of the candidates already spoke to the economic power of Frankfurt, but just because you have economic power now does not mean you will have it tomorrow. And I will ensure that what happened to my community on the south side of Chicago, where economic divestment destroyed our schools and destroyed our communities over a 40, 50-year period, does not happen in the Frankfurt community. It starts with constituent service. It starts with having the ability to be humble and listen to the community. It starts with having a presence. And I would say Frankfurt is similar to the rest of the district, and I believe this has been said as well. We all have families, we all want to go to schools for our kids, we all want a safe home, we all want jobs and economic opportunity. I think as human beings, we all have a desire to see those basic human rights managed and provided for us, and that would be my goal.
30 seconds.
Hello everyone, my name is Kirby Burgess, Punch 43. So one of the things as I go over the district and listen to some of the constituents, one thing that I noticed is that they did not know that Bobby Rush was their congressperson. And so one of the things that I want to do is make sure that we're holding town halls, holding those meet and greets, making sure that we build relationships. One thing that I noticed in this district, that it is a middle class district that does come with those necessities, great homes, safer communities. And so I think that that's how it differs from the other part of the district, is because of, you know, gun violence rapids in Chicago. It's not so much here in Frankfurt. A lot of people leave Chicago to come to Frankfurt/Will County. And so, if elected, one of the things that I would like to do is make sure that this Frankfurt stays an economic engine, that those homes are built, and also that we're getting better schools and health care.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Attorney Cassandra GOODRUM, and I too believe, but I want your vote first. So, with that being said, the things that are the same about Frankfurt is that, once again, families are important and communities are important. The thing that is different is that you don't have the crimes going on in the rest of our First Congressional District. And as such, we want to keep it that way and learn what you're doing correctly that we can carry over to the rest of the district. Additionally, the way that we're going to do that, from my plan, is that we're going to have district clubs. And district clubs would, of course, encompass the participation of all of the constituents so that they could work together with the congressional office, as well as with all the rest of the elected officials as they choose to join. But we would want to work together so we can hear what it is that you exactly want to do in your community. What are your exact concerns? And then we want to know, you to know that your voice is being heard, and that we can take your concerns and work together to come up with a tangible solution that works for everyone. So we want to bring those resources to Frankfurt that you really want, and then work with you to use them to accomplish the goal that you set. So I'm Cassandra GOODRUM, and I'm asking for your vote, Punch 30.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcus Lewis. This is my 7th consecutive run for the seat of Congress. I've done it for the 2nd Congressional District because I live in Madison. This is my stomping grounds here for the last 17 years. I was 46 years in Chicago in the 1st Congressional District. So I understand Frankfurt because simply there's land out here that may not want to be developed. The one thing that we have out here that we don't have in the city is an abundance of property, abundance of land. But that being said, you need the resources and the representation that you weren't getting with the congressman that is stepping aside. I want massive town halls. In fact, in Frankfurt, I will establish a 1st Congressional District office in Frankfurt, as well as in Chicago, as well as one in Kankakee. This is necessary because we don't have the relationship with the constituents. It is send someone to Washington, give us your vote, and then that's it. We need a statesman, someone that understands the needs of people, because it's people that are hurting. It is people that have not have their needs addressed, not from the establishment, but someone that from the ground up. And that's what I will bring forth to this office. Punch 37, Marcus Lewis for Congress.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Jackson, seeking your vote to run for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. The question was asked, what does the city of Frankfurt, the town of Frankfurt have in common with the city and vice versa. I would first tell you, we all have a desire to live. This rampant gun violence, what we've seen in Texas and Buffalo, other places, should alarm us all. When we see high-powered magazine assault rifles that can outgun our police, we should be afraid. I've heard people talk about what's going on in Texas. Of course, we wish those officers could have done more. But the 18-year-old had a high-powered magazine assault rifle and had more firearm power than someone in the police department. That, I think, is fundamentally wrong. So you want to have a safe community. I've come to Frankfurt many times over the years when this was a farmland just 20-some years ago. What you all have done is marvelous. You've managed your growth, you've kept community, you've not been attracted to the cannabis, you've resisted the temptation that other towns have gone. So you've managed your growth so that you can have your own self-destiny. I would like to be closer to your decision-making. I know there are some issues with some water and drainage that the federal government can have something to say for your infrastructure, but ultimately it is your choice how you want to live, how you want to grow, and I would love to serve you to help you manage that growth so you can fulfill your destiny.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pat Dowell. I'm a candidate for Congress, and I'm glad to be back in Frankfurt once again. I'd like to focus on the commonalities that we share with in Frankfurt with the city of Chicago, for example. Everyone needs to create more revenue in order to be able to provide the services that people in our respective communities want. And that's throughout the entire First Congressional District. So my focus would be on making sure that we address the infrastructure issues that we have. The rebuilding of roads, the resurfacing of roads, the replacement of water lines, the improvements of new water lines and sewer drainage, to address the ability to open up new economic areas within towns like Frankfurt and towns and cities across the district. Secondly, another thing I want to focus on is on the SALT, the state and local tax issue, making sure that we can increase the deduction on the homes from $10,000 to $30,000. I think that would impact not just homes in Frankfurt, but also homes in Chicago. And so these are things that I would like to focus on. The main thing is to be able to bring back more resources for the city of Chicago, for the city of Frankfurt, for all of the First Congressional District, and to ensure that and to make sure that those that I will listen and will learn from you, that my decisions will not just be based on things coming out of my head, but on what I'm hearing from the people within the community. Thank you.
How you guys doing? Thank you for having me. My name is Jamal Cole. I'm a candidate in the U.S. Congress. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called My Block, My Hood, My City, and I show up for people. I literally rode my bike 4 hours from Chatham to Frankfurt one day, and I went through all types of trails. So I will start off by saying what's different out here to me is your fajitas at Fat Rosie's are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Like the margaritas, whoo, it's crazy. So I love it. The dollar store out here has the best cards. I mean, literally the best greeting cards ever. It's like the oldest dollar store in the world. It's like not too far from here. It's dope. Also, I will say, what's the same is we care about education, we care about public safety. I think that's the same. And what's different, I would just say, is we all talk about the crime. A lot of people want to move out here because, man, I don't have to look over my shoulder every day, right? I don't have to worry about walking down the street every day. Those are the problems we're dealing with in Chatham, not even too far from here. So what's different about me is showing up, continuing to show up for y'all. I'm going to be at the Frankfurt Fall Festival. Wow, 250,000 people showing up at the festival is amazing. I'm going to continue to show up. I'm going to be at the school board meetings. That's going to be me. I'm going to be at the basketball games and the football games. It's going to be me. Continue to show up for y'all. My name is Jamal Cole. Vote for me. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is KARIN NORINGTON-REAVES. I am the former CEO and founder of the Chicago Workforce Partnership, and I'm asking for your vote on June 28th. What is the same about all of us is our humanity and the fact that we want to have communities that thrive. that have a solid economic engine, that allow us to live peacefully, that allow us to engage in quality employment, that enables us to afford the cost of health care, child care, and anything else that we might want for ourselves, prescription medical costs. And so my focus is on job creation. It's what I've done for the past decade plus. I've helped to create over 100,000 jobs within Chicagoland and Cook County. My focus for Frankfort Township is to listen first and foremost and to understand what your desires are with respect to economic development within this region. You may not want sprawl here. You may not want more people coming into your town and sort of taking over and changing the culture and changing the tenor. And so my job in Congress is to listen, to hear first what you want, and to also make sure that you get the resources you need. We've heard tonight about infrastructure. Well, before we can build a physical infrastructure, we have to make sure we have solid human infrastructure in order to build that. And so I will focus first on our human infrastructure to ensure that we can actually meet the goals of our physical infrastructure. I look forward to answering more of your questions this evening, and I look forward to your vote on June 28th. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Terry Lane Rosner, and I am a resident of Frankfort. I've been a resident for 30 years, and I've lived, played, worked, raised my family here. So what's different about Frankfort, and all of these people would be wonderful representatives for this district. I really believe that. We're Democrats. I believe that we can do this. I'm not going to say a bad word about anyone, because I think they could all do it. So what's the difference here? The difference here is that our district has now 280,000 residents in the suburbs and in the parts outside the city of Chicago. 280,000 people. And so what's different is the people that have problems on the south side of Chicago, and this guy over here, my husband Danny Rosner, who's been a union member for 41 years, understands because he grew up in Englewood. So from there to Bourbonnais, we're not going to have the same problems. We're going to have different problems. The only thing is we have to recognize that it is diverse and that we shouldn't be invisible, that the suburbs should be a part of the conversation as well as the south side of the city. Thank you. I'm Terry Lane Rosner, and I don't know if we have numbers on the ballot, but punch 41.
How y'all doing? My name is Robert Palmer. I'm running for U.S. Representative in the First Congressional District. I am a teacher with the Chicago Public Schools. I'm also a real estate broker. Punch 42, that's what Jackie Robinson would do. I want to say that going around your community, it looks like it's on the brink of thriving, actually. So what you would need is more funds and more opportunity. Now, as far as the differences, I come from Englewood, like your husband. I come from Englewood. Right where I played baseball near Ogden Park, there were 2 police shootings within the last week. And not to mention the people that the police shot and other victims. So we need opportunity in neighborhoods like Englewood and all over the district. Family is a big thing. I'm a family man. I'm a father of 2 children, and family I know is a big thing to everyone. So let's take that in common. Let's work toward that. And I'm the best candidate because I will bring back the dollars that it will cause the best opportunity for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, I had one of our voters, if you can just tell us your first name? Joyce. Joyce drew a question out of the hat, and an interesting question. What is your position on these issues? Trust Act and invoking the 14th Amendment. It's kind of out of the blue, so maybe a second here. The Trust Act, what's your position on the Trust Act? And part B is invoking the 14th Amendment. In what context? It's not a clear question. Yeah, invoking it for what purpose? Invoking the 14th Amendment for what purpose? Anybody have a... No? Yeah, go ahead, please.
The 14th Amendment is, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
Right, but that doesn't explain what they mean when they say invoking the 14th Amendment.
Yeah. Do you want to take this? Yeah. Let's get 90 seconds.
Not to answer, but they're basically talking about the Equal Protection Clause, and it only comes up in certain constitutional instances where a fundamental right may be abridged. So without understanding what context we're applying equal protection, it's hard. Do we support the 14th Amendment? It's in the Constitution. Yes, I think we do. But we have to know the exact sort of situation we're trying to apply the Equal Protection Clause.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying there's like 5 lawyers on the panel and we're all like, but.
Okay, we'll try this one. This one hopefully is curve. So given the first district's gerrymandered map, how do you plan to support people that live this far south versus Chicago? It's kind of the same, right? Yeah, no, I want to be able to go through. So why don't we go through this? So once again, given the first district's gerrymandered map, how do you plan to support the people that live this far south? So I guess you can think about this as just maybe a step deeper of the first question. Give you a little chance to expand upon your first answer. So how do you plan to support people that live this far south?
Okay, I am a listening ear, and I know how to solve problems. So the way that I would do it is I would take a lot of cues from the people of the community and gain or know where their needs are, and then I could move forward from there. Everybody is looking to advance their situation, and this community or any other community would be no different.
So I have a little bit different perspective about Frankfurt. One of the things about Frankfurt Square, Mokina, all of these new Lenox, Lamont, Gwen, all of them were not a part of the first district for many, many years. Just since 2010 has Frankfurt been a part of the first district. Before that, it was the 11th district. So what's happened is it's become such a meandering district that we're very fractured in how we address things, because as we've all said, everybody needs different stuff. But we've also all said there are the same kinds of human needs that everybody has. One of the things I understand about Frankfurt is my backyard is flooded. Right now, our backyard is flooded. So we get that there's a water problem in Frankfurt. The other thing about Frankfurt is that we have a truly bad fentanyl problem, and in Will County, we have a heroin issue.
Okay, 30 seconds.
And these are things that are real and problems that are in the suburbs. They may look great when we're biking, which they do. They actually do, Jamal. They look great when we're biking. But I will tell you, there's a lot of underlying problems that are silently suffering. And that's what we do here, is we silently suffer. Thank you.
So I'm standing up because I can't see the people in the back. So my answer to that question is this. I think there are a number of pieces. It does not matter whether you live in the city or in Frankfort Township or in Joliet or in Kankakee. The reality is you have to be present. And so it is about relationships, it is about connectivity, and it is about being present. Being present not only to community, but also to the other elected officials and building those relationships. I've spent my career as a bridge builder between the private sector and the public sector. I've worked at every single level of government. I've worked with both sides of the aisle. That is my strong suit. It is my superpower, is connection. And so I think that we also have to have a vision for how you are physically present here. Whether it is having an office or making the time, it is really not that far, y'all. It's like 45 minutes. It really is not that far to take the time to come and be a part of various meetings. I was talking with an elected official in Joliet, and he said, all you gotta do is show up. He said, just show up, just be present, let people touch you, let them be heard. And so my vision is to create policy councils throughout the district that allow us to leverage the brain trust that we have and let folks' voices be heard and let them participate in government in a way that we really have not experienced to date. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just echo what everyone said. Just continue to show up for people. Again, I'm Jamal Cole. I run a nonprofit called My Block within my city. What's fascinating about what we do is we work with block clubs, and we show up and listen to people, and we solve problems at the block level, right? We solve them at the block level by making sure people are connected. The more connected you are, the safer you are, the healthier you are, the happier you are. So I want to show up and listen. I want to show up and learn, and I want to show up and respond in real time to problems, because that's what I have a track record of doing in Chicago. And again, if you haven't seen a candidate up until right now, just if you haven't seen one up until right now, that says something. Who's already shown up? Just look around and see who's shown up before. I'm gonna continue to show up for you.
Ditto. I like what Jamal just said about, it's about being present and showing up and developing relationships with people. As I walked in this room this evening, I see people here who's I'm beginning to develop a relationship with, and that is what it's all about. Being able to know what those people are thinking about, the concerns that they have, and then taking that and then making something happen good for them to show people that you're going to do what you say. Sometimes politicians only come around when it's election time. I'm not that kind of politician. I am a public servant. I have been the alderman of my community for 15 years. I've been voted in overwhelmingly 3 times. And the reason is because I show up for my community. I deliver real results for people. I talk to them in the grocery store. They stop me in the restaurants. I move around and I talk to people. And I think that's what it's going to take to have a congressman's office present in this community. So we're also going to look at ways to keep in contact with people through email. That's a very, very good tool to be able to talk to people, to get information in real time. We're going to look at mail, and we're going to look at possibly doing a newsletter that is geared specifically to certain parts of the district, something that we've done in our own community of Bronxville and the South Loop. I have a newsletter that's specific to the South Loop community and another newsletter that's specific to the Bronxville community, so you know in real time what's going on the ground. I will be there for you. I will be present. You're not going to come next election and when someone knocks on your door to not be able to say who your congressman is, who your congresswoman is.
My name is Jonathan Jackson. I'm running for Congress because the First Congressional District is hurting. I'm proud that I've gone to business school and not law school. One of the main reasons is I've enjoyed a career in business, making more pies, seeing things grow. We have to turn the economic engine on back in the state of Illinois, back in our district. Illinois is a shrinking state, if you will. We've lost a congressional seat. There are 35% of our residents now are struggling to make ends meet. I'm going around the district, running from Wilmington all the way through to the South Loop, talking about guns, gases, and groceries. You may have a nice house out here today, but hunger hurts. When you don't have enough food in your house, 50% of Illinoisans are making less than $20 an hour. We've got to put our economy in this region back on the map. I don't think of this very parochial and provincial, the first district. I don't know where it begins on some places and ends. We have to work with the adjoining congressional leaders beside us, and if this can bring jobs and plants and manufacturing back to our region, we have to work together to bring it back. I've oftentimes talked about what's happening in Western Tennessee, where the Ford Motor Company has made a commitment towards $11 billion for electric vehicles. We've got a great plant out here on the south side. We could have been looking forward to those 6,000 jobs that are now going into Western Tennessee. Ford Motor Company is taking the UAW with it to Western Tennessee. They're bringing union high-paying jobs back to the south. We're now in the infancy of 5G. I want to make sure that we deploy all the resources necessary, that we have universal broadband so our children can get online. That should be a right. So in the event there's another pandemic, we're not left behind and marginalized.
I want to ask you, what is the question again? Because it gets kind of diluted as it goes down there.
What are you going to do to support us? What are you going to do to support us this far south? Given the gerrymandering that's taken place in the district and all the games that are played with that, with the district, and what will you do to support us this far south? So it's a carry on from the first question. Thank you. Thank you.
Very well. And thank you for the question. First of all, as I said before, I live out here. This is my stomping ground for the last 17 years. So I do understand the difference between rural and urban, and they call it, or I call it in the city. But the issues that you have out here still mirror what's going on in the city. You might not have the crime, you have the space. It doesn't mean that it has to be industrialized. That's what I thought the second congressional district should have been, industrialized, and they're now doing it eons years later. But it's still what you want representation that will, one, and I want to stress to you, this is the Constitution of the United States of America, of which every representative and every person that has an office says they're going to uphold. The problems that we're having that are probably going to be addressed here because they're not amended in this Constitution. They're just statutory. Republicans go for the Constitution. Democrats always go for passing laws. That's not going to make it. You have to amend this if you want something sustained permanently. I understand that. That's why I'm running for this seat. 7 times running for Congress is not an easy thing to do. I already understand and have a grip of what Washington is requiring because I'm independent. I'm not an establishment candidate. I want to establish town hall meetings, not virtually. I'm talking about just like this, the most massive the First Congressional District has ever seen. I want to stand with this area of Frankfurt and make it a part of the First Congressional District as all the other parts are supposed to be.
So I am Attorney Cassandra Goodrum, and the way I think we can support Frankfurt the best is, as I've already indicated to you, creating the district clubs. Now, I told you a little bit about the district clubs, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm an attorney for the last 10 years. I've been a professor at Chicago State University in the Criminal Justice Department. Before that, I did Social Security, Disability, and Family Law. Before that, I worked for the County State's Attorney's Office. And what I can guarantee you is that when I meet people looking for Social Security, Disability, or in family law looking for a divorce, they are not necessarily happy people. So that is something that I had to learn to deal with in order to professionally advocate on their behalf. So that is a skill that I think we absolutely have to take into Congress at this time. You have to have someone there who is going to advocate for you, and I am that person. I've also learned how to navigate systems, Social Security, that are part of our government, that a lot of people get turned down for initially, but you still have to go and push through. I can do that. I can negotiate on behalf of
30 seconds.
I can negotiate on behalf of the entire First Congressional District. And most importantly, we're going to get back to those district clubs. And everyone is encouraged to join. It can be an organization, it can be an individual who's joining, but we have to have that representation. And I also want children to join, because we definitely need to encourage the rest of the electorate to get involved by showing them exactly how a good representation looks between the rest of the Congressman's office and Franklin.
Hello, Kirby Burgess for Congress, Punch 43. As a middle school science teacher, one of the things that you must do is build those relationships with parents and the student. And so when it comes down to building relationship, I think I'm an expert at that. So with Frankfurt, when it comes down to Frankfurt, one of the things that, listening to the constituents, one of the things that I have heard was transportation, a lack of transportation. And so we want to make sure, if elected, that we hear the people, transportation. And also what I have noticed too coming out here is gathernizing the Democratic Party. We need to make sure that we are pushing this Democratic Party. We see, I heard someone say that it is between, Republicans and Democrats, but a majority of Republicans stay in Frankfurt. But we need to change that and galvanize the Democratic Party. And so one of the things that I want to do here to make sure that I'm building a relationship is to have a community cell phone number. I believe that it is important that you are able to connect with your congressman. And so no, my staffer won't answer the phone. It will be me, because you didn't elect my staffer, you elected me. And so that would be one of the things that I would do to make sure that I am connected to Frankfurt.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Thompson, candidate for the United States Congress here in the First District of Illinois. I echo what a lot of the other candidates have said here before, but I think there are two things missing from the conversation. I think first we need to modernize the way we engage in constituent service, the delivery model of constituent service. Data and analytics can play a real role in how we understand the needs of a community and how a community can communicate those needs to a congressperson. But as well, I think it has been said, community is important. Right now in the Chicago metropolitan statistical area, there are about 52,600 nonprofits with a combined $290 billion of total assets. There's no reason why coordination and community can't be a first stop to solving issues on the ground, then the next step of legislation, and then the next step of a constitutional amendment. But you have to build the trajectory towards that path. So.
Good evening again. I'm State Senator Jacqueline Collins, and my number is Punch 39, but my campaign is named Jackie for Justice. And what does that mean? It means that right now, I represent over 230,000 constituents. I do not serve just Chicago or Cook County. I go outside of Chicago. And so what that means, I already have constituents that look just like you and have the same needs that you do. Even though I stand as a legislator for the 16th Legislative District, I take an oath to serve all the constituents, all the citizens of Illinois. And how does that look? It means that's why I have the endorsement of Senator Patrick Joyce, who represents Kankakee and the southern area of the First Congressional District. I have the endorsement of Larry Walsh. So I worked with Michael Hastings on the issues that are important to you and supported his legislation. So there's nothing that you can bring to me that I've not already done to benefit you, because I voted for the bills that service your community.
CHARISE Williams, candidate for Congress, Punch 47. This seems like a brass taxes question, so in short, I'm a funder for the state. That's what I've been doing for the past couple of years. I understand the needs throughout the state and throughout the district. And what I'll do to make sure is I understand the importance of being intentional when hiring the staff. So throughout my time in the government, my agency had to represent the state. So I will be intentional about pulling and recruiting from Frankfurt. When you have people in the office You have people who understand the district, they're part of the conversation, even when no one else is there. So you have to be intentional about including people on your team to represent the district, one. Two, I think like everyone else has already said, that representation hasn't really been here or has been as open as we probably have liked to see. So we'll have an office local, we'll have town hall meetings, we also will have email blasts. But not everyone checks email. So we'll have mail, we'll have text messages, because there's different ways to communicate with people. But the main difference is to be intentional about how I communicate with you all and how you communicate with me, and I show up. I'll continue to show up. I've shown up throughout the state with my work at CJ and with my work at the state treasurer's office, and I'll continue to do that once I'm your congresswoman. Thank you.
Jonathan Swain, Punch 48, last name on the ballot. I look at the Southland and Will County is connected directly to the city. We all rise together, we all fall together. One of the biggest things I want to advocate for as a congressman, even though it's not it's technically in the district, is the South Suburban Airport. Because our ability to be able to create economic opportunity around that airport helps everyone. It helps Will County, it helps Southern Cook County, and also helps the city of Chicago by stretching the city so that we can really get the investment we need in the South Side of Chicago. So we're all connected. I'll also say this. The comment was about the district being gerrymandered. The first district is protected by the Voting Rights Act, and it's drawn in such a way to be a majority minority district. And as such, it was required to be drawn in a particular way. But I think ultimately, that's where the connection lies again. We have to stand with Democrats, because in this part of our state, this is where the fight is really happening for the things that we all care about. I mean, the gutting of the Voting Rights Act has done things to our country that have caused us to be in a situation where we're threatened by Roe v. Wade being overturned, where we are talking about can't pass common sense gun legislation. So I think the connection is connecting really around this question of the fundamentals of democracy, which is about voting. That's what's drawn this district and connects this district and all the things that we want to see it do, and all the things we want to see our country do. Jonathan Swain, Punch 48.
I'm going to stand up for a moment because I think this is a really important question. That's why I've asked 3 times. And it is the number one thing that I've heard as I've walked around, knocked on doors, went to Chamber of Commerce meetings. Why is this area not paid attention to? And if you think it's because the current congressperson has a deficit of personality, that's not it. If you think it's because the current congressperson has a misunderstanding about constituent engagement, I don't think that's it. There is an incentive structure here. The problem that we Democrats in Frankfurt have is that many of your neighbors are not Democratic primary voters. And if you don't care about Republican voters, then you will not be in Frankfurt, Will County, and doing the things that we're talking about today. When the game starts going, you pay attention to the places that are at the core of what you're doing. The reason I got in this race is because I looked around the work that I was doing around this country, around this district in my ministry, and I see a nation that is falling apart because we are locked into a partisan battle. 6%, there was a study a few years ago, it showed, it's called the tribes. 6% progressive activists, 6% devoted conservatives. In the middle, they call it the frustrated middle. I got in this race to organize the frustrated middle so that we can do things like pass some common sense gun law, like reinstate the enhanced tax credit, make sure that Medicare covers vision, hearing, and dental. Things that we can all agree on that will improve all of our lives. But if we don't care about all of the folks in this community, we simply will not be here. The incentives won't allow us to do it.
So a good moderator reads the room, and we're at just about 45 minutes at this point. I'm watching some people getting tired, so I want to do a little incentive here. So I'd like to do 2 more questions. 2 more questions, so that should take us to just about 8 o'clock, and then that would give candidates time to mingle with attendees in the room. And then if you have specific questions of candidates you want to follow up with them, you know, we have this room till 8:30. We do need, for our agreement with the library, to be out of here at 8:30. Is that fair? I think that'll kind of re-energize us. So if you hold on for 30 minutes here, we're going to do 2 more questions. And I'm going to say both of the questions so candidates could be thinking about. The first one, they're actually short questions, and one's, anyways, let me read it. It's a doozy. Lots of well-meaning folks in Congress try to make a difference, but I don't think anything positive will happen without campaign finance reform. What do you think? Campaign finance reform, what do you think? So we'll go through that, and then we'll come back to the final question. What is your top priority? Campaign finance reform, and then we'll go through the whole panel, and then the last question, and we'll end, and we'll mingle. What is your top priority? Well, I guess you need this, don't you? But you got a lot of questions.
Listen, I'll stand up again. When I was, I think, 18 or 19 years old, I was working at Citizen Action, Illinois, traveling around this state, trying to pass something called the Lincoln Act. At that time, we saw what campaign finance was doing to our politics. The reason the loudest voices in that 6% all the way to the left, the loudest voices in that 6% all the way to the right get all of the attention is because those folks who are committed deeply to that warfare dump tons of money into our elections. We must get those monies out of politics. Not only do we have to change our campaign finance law, we need to change the structure of our elections. We need to think about ranked choice voting. We need to think about how do we change our entire election structure so that the loudest, most extreme voices in our politics don't always take up all of the air in the room. Because again, the largest group in that study is the 26% of completely disengaged Americans. We cannot pass our democracy forward if that continues to be the reality.
Dear Jonathan Swain, Punch 48, the last day on the ballot. Campaign finance reform is essential. I believe in public funding of campaigns. Until we get to that point, Democrats have to participate on the rules as drawn because Republicans are fighting in that same way. We have to ask the question, are we willing to stand up for taking dollars that are advocating things that are hurting our communities or taking money from groups that are non-disclosed and influencing local elections? Those are questions Democrats have to answer. I think we have should have a slightly higher moral advantage, a moral complaint with that than our Republican counterparts. But at the end of the day, if we want to change our communities with campaign finance reform and like, we have to include the citizens' voice so that turnout can increase. I was an election commissioner in the city of Chicago for 5 years, and I studied voter turnout. And when you think about this election, this very important election, as was stated earlier, we projected the turnout to be anywhere between 15 and 20%. 15 to 20%. If we want to change, we have to include people's voices so that if their voices included, they'll enjoy and they'll engage themselves in the process. That is what will change campaign finance reform. That is what will change issues around women's right to choose. That will change economic priorities. That will change how we spend our money relative to dollars going across the seas versus what we're investing here. That ultimately is what changes. So to answer your second question, so I don't take up time, my first priority is the Voting Rights Act and making sure that democracy is held by everybody in our country so that we all can participate.
Let's talk about what we know. The Voting Rights Act did not pass the Senate because, one, it did expand Voting Rights Act, but it refinanced campaign reform. What we need to do, and that's scary, the GOP doesn't want that, right? By them able to pour tons and millions of dollars of dark money, they're able to control the narrative, and that's why they're threatening our right to vote, our women's right to choose, the things that we hold dearly. So what I will advocate for is real campaign finance reform. And so what some of the people already said is making a smaller our community vote counts. So there's legislation right now about supporting this, matching the small donor vote. Right now, for every $6, it's a $1 match. Increasing that. One, expanding transparency on the money that is pouring into these PACs. These are all the things that did not pass to the Senate, and we know the reasons why. When we get to DC, those are things I would advocate for. Because what will continue to happen is that the voices of the people and our voices will get lost in all this nonsense. And the only way to do that is to have really and true campaign finance reform. Thank you. Wait, sir, Mark, I don't answer the other question yet, right?
No.
It's coming back? Okay, thank you.
Since all the short people are standing up, I'll stand up as well. So I definitely believe in campaign finance reform because right now we have funding. Money has become the currency of our democracy. And what do I mean? Those with money are able to have access to those people who represent you. That's one of the reasons I am not taking any money from corporations. And there is no one in this race that have taken on the tough fights winning for the public. I've taken on the gun lobby. I've taken on the insurance companies. And I've also taken on the nursing home industry as well. Not taking money from gaming or casinos, because that depends on, they determine your agenda. When you're able to become beholden to these high rollers, you take on the part of being their spokesperson at the table of policy. And so I have refused to become the mouthpiece of these well-heeled individuals. We definitely need public funding so everyone has an opportunity to run for office. That should be a right. You should not be hampered by the lack of money to access to participate in the democracy. Right now we have the tyranny of the minority, the wealthy, and those in Republican senators who are financed by many of the people that harm our communities and fight against the policies that we need to uplift all people in a democracy. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Thompson, candidate of the United States Congress here in the First District of Illinois. And if we want to address campaign finance reform, we have to engage in a two-tier strategy. First, it starts with reversing the decision of Citizens United that allows speech to be essentially, that allows our speech to be measured by money. But then two, we need to reassess the max contributions allowed for campaigns like ours. Right now, in this congressional campaign that we're all running in, the max contribution is $2,900. I don't know about you all, but I don't have friends that just have $2,900 to give to me, right? When candidates are allowed to just call up their Rolodex and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, that cheats us out of a good and safe and fair democracy.
I believe that our democracy is under attack more than we think. And one of the ways is through campaign finance laws. This is the reason why I support not just the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but For the People Act. Because what that bill does is it ends everything that we're talking about. It ends gerrymandering. It tackles campaign finance laws. It makes voting easy. So that's what I would do. I would most certainly be supporting the For the People Act. I also will echo what all the other candidates said before me, that it's time that we get these, I call them corporate Democrats, that have taken money from corporations that are not in the interest of the people. And so one thing you can say about Kirby is that I'm unbought and unbossed. I have no boss. I have no corporation that is telling me what bill I'm going to be voting for, what bill I can't vote for. This is the reason why I believe, like this young man said, that it's time that we repeal the Citizens United and take this district back and take it out of the hands of corrupt politicians that are doing side deals that are not in the interest of the people. And this is another reason why I believe in term limits. I am the only candidate up here that is echoing that we need term limits. And so, please, when you go to the polls, punch 43.
the FEC, each of the candidates, what we are electing as campaign contributions. The only contributions that anyone's interested in are the ones that are over $200 that are coming from individuals. But that dark money, that PAC money that you can accept in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, where's that? Why are we not holding those people accountable for the money that they're contributing? It's far past time that we allow our electorate to be bought, and that's what is happening because of the campaign laws. And I would encourage us to also put caps on the amount of money that can be spent in a campaign, because it just does not take millions and millions of dollars for you to make up your mind on who you want to vote for. What you want to hear is what our positions are. And I'm asking for your vote, Cassandra Goodrum, to be your next representative for the First Congressional District.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that whoever funds you, runs you. You can look at those that appear. I want you to look and investigate. The one thing that's still not illegal is to think. Look at the money that some of these candidates have amassed. It wasn't $20 and $30 from Uncle Joe and Kirby Sam. These people have $300,000 and $400,000. Best believe they owe a lot of favor. They are bought and paid for. Have you had enough of corrupt people in office? Not saying they're corrupt, but I'm saying you're going down that path. Because your voice has already been analyzed, this is where you're going to be. And the people here, they don't care about you. I'm not saying the people here, but I'm saying those that gave them the money, they don't care about us. Michael Jackson said it well. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. And that's true. They don't even care about our vote, because they've already got that when you have this mass ballot piling, ballot stuffing, mail-in balloting. They're dead people. I mean, you have a lot of things going on here. Yes, I have 30 seconds left. I am a minister of the apostolic faith. The problem with this country, you have a spiritual problem, not a gun problem, because the guns, this is the gun. It is not going to fire until a human puts his hand to it. What is wrong with them? It's because they're smoking this ginned up marijuana. That's another problem they have. See, there's a lot of other things going on, and they want to make sure that everybody buys into that. So the top 1% said, from the World Economic, the gentleman said, what we have is we gave them drugs and video games. That's why this seat is so important. You need someone independent like myself who's unbossed. That's what Shirley Chisholm said in 1968 when she ran. And I'm here to tell you, I am that. My name is Marcus Lewis, Punch 37, because you'll find out 7 times running means something. I am that.
Deal with that. My name is Jonathan Jackson, running for Congress for the First Congressional District. I too believe in campaign finance reform. What you're going to see in this election cycle across the nation are record numbers of investments by some people into the Secretary of State's races. What we saw happen on January 6th was going from the right to vote to now who has the right to count the vote. So voter suppression schemes are going on all around the country. What does public finance reform look like? It could be in the form of some caps on federal funding. Corporations cannot put money into any candidate's pocket or campaign on this stage, but there are PACs, there are other ancillary vehicles that are used in this election cycle, and unfortunately, more money has more voice on more media. We can open up some of the public airwaves so that people can get their messaging out and other people can hear it. I'm also very much excited that the field of candidates that have come forward to be a part of the first congressional race. This right here has given me much enthusiasm to see so many people that were willing to come out and participate. So I congratulate all of those persons that have been out here for this last 6 weeks, last 6 months campaigning. I also think you should be able to opt in towards voter registration. When a child comes across the high school graduation, they should automatically be a registered voter. You should not have to go find voter registration.
Pat Dowell, candidate for the First Congressional District, Punch 32, you know what to do. I believe in, so first of all, I want to say to Mr. Thompson, I'm one of those candidates that, or Mr. Butler, one of those candidates that has raised over $300,000, not through corporations, not through $2,900 maximums, but by contributions from small individual people. All of my contributions have come from within the First Congressional District and come from small people, and I'm proud of that. I wish I could raise more, but unfortunately we have not been able to as a group. I believe in campaign finance reform because I think money has the potential and has shown to separate people from their politics. And we need to make sure that anyone can get into a race to run, that there are the resources available so that everyone's message could get out equally. It is really very difficult to run in a race like this without having the ability to get your message out. So campaign finance reform is key so that we can make sure that all campaigns are financed equally and appropriately to be able to compete. Thank you.
My name is Jamal Cole, candidate for U.S. Congress. When I'm out knocking on doors and giving a lot of presentations to Ring cameras, and they're like home talking to Ring cameras, I'm like, man, he already got a window decal up? He just entered the race last week. I'm like, man, I'm seeing all these billboards. I'm like, man, let me tell you, with my campaign, we made the ballot with nothing but volunteers. We made it with volunteers. We're number 3 right now. We get with volunteers and small donations. People signing up and giving $1.50 a month, like monthly contributions, right? That's what I'm so proud about. It's like anybody with enough money right now can buy an election. Corporations are making super PACs and PACs, and they're putting money to get people elected. So we need our voice to be represented. If you don't know the people right now, if they haven't shown up, it don't matter how many yard signs they buy, how many billboards. If you have not seen them, that says something. It don't matter how many yard signs and billboards and Facebook ads and text messaging schemes. If you ain't seen them, they ain't gonna show up because they're just popping in right now. They're just gonna pop out just as fast. My name is Jamal Cole. Vote for me. Thank you.
So, good evening. I'm KARIN NORINGTON-REAVES again. I absolutely believe in campaign finance reform, and the notion of matching those small donor contributions is really important. So, as Michael Thompson mentioned, $2,900 is the maximum in this race, in federal races across the country. It is very difficult to get your message out, absent access to media, to mail, to text messaging, to billboards. That all requires money. If there was some other way for us to have mass communication with 700,000 people, because that's how many folks there are, more than 700,000 people in the district, that would be great, but there is no other way, and so it does require money. I am one of those folks who has raised a significant amount of money. I think in the first quarter I was 3rd. Well, that's not true, Pat, that's unfair. So she's saying I raised dark money, which is absolutely untrue. So either you don't know what the law is, and that's a problem, or you do know what the law is, and you're seeking to mislead people tonight. Super PACs is what you're referring to, and super PACs cannot have any conversation or any interaction with candidates. And so it's illegal. But what is legal, and this is why I think we need to end Citizens United, is that they can capture your images and create advertising both for and against you. So when you see the ads slandering the different candidates in the Secretary of State race, that doesn't necessarily have to be done by an opponent. It can be done by some outside force. Same thing can be done for good. And it is very freaky to have your image taken and have somebody make a commercial on your behalf or for you or against you when you have no control over it whatsoever and legally cannot have any interaction.
Bravo. I have to say a couple things. First, I'm Dr. Terry Lane Rosner. I have a PhD in media and visual literacy and communication. And so all of these candidates are correct in their own ways about money in campaigns. We used to have an equal time option with broadcast media, where anybody that would be on broadcast media, you'd have to give, if you were a news show, you had to give the equal time to somebody else. Well, we had a Telecommunication Act in 1996, and after that says, no, you don't have to do that anymore. So that's why money has become so important. It's all about whether you can get your word out. You guys know because there's some media over there who said, who are you? Are you running for this office? And I have been a certified candidate for the last 3 months. We have little money, but we'll make up for it in enthusiasm and energy. I will say this, I applaud those that were able to raise money. I have nothing to say that says you can't raise a lot of money, but I think that we have to get rid of Citizens United. Citizens United allows for speech to be bought, and it is terrible, and we need to get rid of that. Now, the one other thing I wanted to say is that this is a Voting Rights Act district, but I'm a woman, and this would be historic for me. This is the first time a woman would be elected to this office. Also, the last time I looked, everybody has a right to run. If they are a US citizen, and they are registered, and they are qualified to run. I'm over 18. So I'm qualified to run for this office, and I'm excited to represent everybody in this diverse, wonderful, gerrymandered, fractured district. Terry Lane Rosner.
I think I'll stand up this time. Anyway, if you look at some of the races, Ken Griffin dumping big money into Richard Urban's campaign, JB fattening his campaign with big dollars. I have to agree with Marcus to an extent that some of the money, we got to put a check on some of this. And I'm for smaller donations, but I don't like the fact that by the money you raise, that's what tier a candidacy is thrown at you. And the biggest endorsement that I want is from the people of the district. Dark money and PACs voting for or against someone, it's hard to check a lot of the things. So I'm for campaign finance and eliminating Citizens United.
All right, thank you, Ken. Okay, real quick, we're gonna run through this really quick. Top priority, 30 seconds, and then what I'd like to do is to then just have candidates meet the voters here in the audience. If you have a particular candidate you want to chat with, please come up, vote, and talk with them. We do have the room till 8:30, so 30 seconds, top priority.
30 seconds, top priority. I'm from Maplewood. I saw a lot of stuff growing up. I saw bad schools. I saw crime. And my top priority is doing something for the youth, bringing about mentorship programs, affordable housing, health care, and whatever my community needs. So my top priority is our youth, but there's a lot of things that our community needs.
I think that it really doesn't matter what we believe, what we think, what the constituents think, any of that. I think the priority has to be entrenched ideologies. So we have to get past that we can't get anything passed in Congress because people are so entrenched in their ideologies. We can't, it doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter how much we want to help. If we cannot, I don't care what you call it, compromise, collaborate, building bridges, whatever it is, We need to do it so we can get things passed. Terre, Lane, Rosner.
My priority is codifying Roe v. Wade and preserving a woman's right to choose and ending access by civilians to military-grade assault weapons because they do nothing but visit death and destruction of us and our families. We have to take action on things. KARIN, NORINGTON-REAVES, Punch 36. Thank you.
My top priority is ending gun violence. I got shot recently, and when I woke up in the ambulance, they said, well, don't jog that way anymore. Like that was the solution. That's not the solution, right? I talked to people, young people the other day, and they say, Jamal, how do we stay safe? Y'all tell us to stay home all the time. How do we stay safe? I said, set goals. What are your goals? The number one goal that came out of that room was don't die. That's a problem. We gotta inspire hope in our youth and let them know young people can lead. That's my priority. Thank you.
My top priority is developing an economic infrastructure for all of the areas throughout the First Congressional District and working to have important gun safety legislation put in place. The two go hand in hand together. You can't develop an economic base without having public safety and violence addressed. Pat Dowell, 32.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Jackson. I'd like to have your vote for Congress for the First Congressional District. My priority is putting an end to these high magazine, high-powered weapons, assault rifles that have gone in Philadelphia, gone in Pittsburgh, gone in Texas. They put fear in all of us. They are outgunning the police departments. I don't want to see an arms race. I've seen some people on television saying that the teachers should have done. We need to go another way, de-escalate this level of violence. The Build Back Better program has $1.2 trillion. I want to be on the oversight committee so we can rebuild our public infrastructure, so water can come to Frankfurt, so we can have high-speed rail, so we can move freely between St. Louis and Detroit and Milwaukee and throughout our region. Vote 34. Think Walter Payton and sweetness.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invite. Thank you very much for this forum. There should have been more of them. I have not been, just to show you, I have not been invited to majority of the forums because they don't want this type of voice, independent voice. I want to be the distinguished gentleman for the district and for this nation. That's what's necessary. There's a whole lot of priorities that we can name, but I want to be the change that you want to see. Punch 37, Marcus Lewis of Congress.
I am Cassandra Goodrum. I want an engaged, educated, empowered First Congressional District because together we win. So my number one priority is making sure that the Voting Rights Act is passed because we cannot make sure that we have the right to get to the poll. Everything else is null and void. So I am asking for your vote so that we can get that Voting Rights Act passed and we can preserve our democracy. Cassandra Goodrum.
My name is Kirby Burgess. So one of the things that I want to go over is education. Chicago has the third largest education system, and we need someone that understands how our scholars learn. So I will be joining the Education and Labor Committee. Healthcare, I believe that Medicare for all is the answer. I believe that we need it. Green New Deal, I believe that it is an economic engine. We need it. Another thing is safer communities. We need to ban the liability shield on gun manufacturers. They are the only industry in America that is exempt from being sued. Vote Kirby Burgess on June 20th.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Thompson, candidate for United States Congress here in the First District of Illinois. And my top priority is jobs. But you can't address jobs if you don't address human infrastructure. I say this often. You can't get a job, you can't interview, you can't write a resume, you can't write a resume if you can't write a sentence, you can't write a sentence if you don't appreciate education. And it's hard to appreciate education if you're going through social and emotional trauma stemming from poverty and childhood experiences. I see my goal in elected office and bringing resources to the table at every phase of the articulated. Please vote Thompson2022.com, push 35. Thank you.
As State Senator Jacqueline Collins, my first priority would be to codify Roe versus Wade. I've led the fight in the state for codifying Roe versus Wade because reproductive rights is a matter of justice. All women should have the choice to determine what they want to bring into the world, if they're even able to afford to keep the child in a healthy environment. I would also fight against the proliferation of guns. I'm the first legislator in the Midwest to ban ghost guns, and I will take that fight on to Congress as well. I'm Punch 39, get in line to Punch 39. JackieForJustice.com.
Thank you all. Charisse Williams, candidate for Congress, Punch 47. My top priorities are to lower the cost of prescription drugs. People shouldn't have to choose between a bag of groceries and buying medicine, or pick and choose when they want to take the medicine. Two, actually having real economic development. So using the infrastructure to not only build and increase the manufacturing of the companies that are coming, but build the infrastructure around the buildings so that we have a safer community, a place where everybody wants to live. So vote Punch 47, Highway to Heaven, Charisse Williams. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you for coming out tonight. Jonathan Swain, Punch 48 by June 28th. The first priority I have is the foundation of our democracy. It is the Voting Rights Act. All that we discussed here is only going to happen if you have a changed Senate. The only way you get a changed Senate if Democrats come to vote. The only way Democrats are going to be able to come to vote is if we fix the Voting Rights Act so that we have access to polls all across our country. It's the foundation of our democracy, and everything starts there. Jonathan Swain, Punch 48, on by June 28th.
My name is Pastor Chris Butler, and I would love to have you vote June 28th. My priority is to lead into legislation. We cannot get anything done in Congress if we cannot work together. The two skills that you need to have when you go to Congress this time. One, you got to be able to challenge your own party's leadership. Two, you got to be able to reach across the aisle and work with other folks. I'm sure I'm the only person here who's an evangelical Christian pastor with 25 years in social justice organizing. I can do these two things. That is, if you can't do those two things, everything else that we say is just pipe dreams. So vote for me. Pastor Chris is at the top of your list and the first name on your ballot.
All right, let's hear it for the candidates. Candidates, I just can't thank you enough. This is just warms my heart, and this is so exciting. I sat on the sidelines for so many years until the previous person that was occupying the White House occupied it. So anyways, but this is the energy was beautiful. The respect of the crowd. I just thank you so much. Thank you, candidates. I want to thank Joanne and Mark, Joanne Hamilton and Mark Flagel are on part of our team. They're my wife Lori's back there, and Lori support. Meet the candidates, enjoy. We have the room till 8:30. Bless everybody. Take care. Thank you.